This is MLD News. I'm your host, Graham Wright. Dateline, Silicon Valley, probably. Look out, Lars Ulrich, because the word Napster is back in the news. That's right, the original music piracy company has recently sold for $207 million. Why? What for? To whom? To answer these questions and consider what all of this means for the music world and for my age is major label debut online piracy correspondent John Paul Bullock. John Paul, do you remember the first MP3 you ever downloaded?
Hello, Graham. It was almost certainly like a soul coughing MP3, maybe some kind of weird Radiohead bootleg thing that was mislabeled and probably was, Yellow by Coldplay. Although that may have been later in when did Yellow come out? When was that first Coldplay record?
I want to say it was 2000. It was right around the same time. You're right on the money. You can feel, you have the memory sense of the music and the apps and the way the world was.
Do we owe Napster for bringing Coldplay into all our lives?
If so, then I think they deserve even more than $207 million.
Sean Fanning and Sean Parker are responsible for Coldplay. They should get a percentage of Coldplay.
I think Timberlake's going to be reprising his role as Sean Parker in the Coldplay biopic that I am pitching to studios actively.
Timberlake could play Chris Martin in the. That's actually not bad casting.
How's his English accent? We gotta look into that.
Probably not good.
Not good.
It never works. It's always the same with any British actor playing an American, where you can just see behind their eyes the thought that they have to put on the American accent with every piece of dialogue.
Check out our White Lotus recap pod to hear my take on Jason Isaacs' attempt to sound Texan. John Paul, could you outline for the people the situation on the ground with Napster?
Sure. Well, of course, you remember Napster as the peer-to-peer file sharing application that was founded in 1999. And it was sued out of existence in like 2002. I think it went bankrupt. And then it was traded around by a bunch of different companies, or at least the brand name was, to Roxio and then Best Buy, and then some crypto dudes bought it. And it's been all sorts of different things that Napster has been. Right now, I'm not sure what it is. This company it wants to turn it into a kind of virtual space where people can meet up in the metaverse and watch a concert and buy merch and support bands that they love. But I just can't possibly imagine how it could be worth $207 million. Is that just do you know why?
The only possible explanation that makes sense to me is one I saw just speculated online. I have no real information about this, which is that maybe in one of the previous iterations you mentioned, they did licensing deals with labels or with distribution that are still in place. And so, like if you buy a restaurant, you're kind of buying the liquor license or whatever, that the money is really just going to this infrastructure that they can build out this metaverse streaming platform throughout. Is that worth $207 million still? I have no idea, but at least that's something as opposed to just the brand name of Napster, which I don't think has any value now. Do you?
Well, no, I mean, I'm not sure if people are actually nostalgic for early internet culture, or if that's just wishful thinking from tech billionaires. But one thing, do you know a single person who has used any post-bankruptcy version of Napster?
I have never heard anyone say the word other than to maybe say, remember Napster. Everyone used it back then. My generation particularly were 13 when Napster was coming out. And so we were all fully logged on. But even before it went away, it was replaced or, bettered by things like LimeWire or Kazaa, and then by torrenting, et cetera, et cetera. So we left Napster behind even before it disappeared.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever attended a virtual concert, or are you interested in attending a virtual concert?
Not remotely. And I'm obviously biased to some extent by my longtime career as a live concert practitioner, but I feel like the only thing about a concert that is good is that you're all there in the room together. And obviously over the COVID days, there was a lot of necessity driven Zoom performances, or even more, fleshed out stuff. Like I watched the Glastonbury that they did digitally, but that was just a pre-recorded concert film. That was not the same medium as a live performance. And I think the live performance continues to be the one thing that they can't duplicate and can't put on the computer. And I'm sure that this is driven in part by the fact that that's unacceptable to the Silicon Valley hive mind, that there be anything that they can't like digitize and put into their world.
I mean, also, I feel like there are plenty of other existing services that provide a similar experience for no cost, free kind of that. I mean, I remember during that same period of time watching those Ben Gibbard live streams almost every day, where he would play for an hour or something and raise money for a charity, or play a bunch of cover songs. And it was kind of, like going to a concert, but it was, it didn't require this being trapped in some kind of Tron version of like, this, like metaverse. I mean, there's another question. Do you know anyone who is actively using any of these metaverse products at all? Even the like headsets. I know one or two people who bought the headsets because they were like early adopter type gadget folks, but do you know anyone who's using any of that stuff at all?
Zero. I'm sure they're out there, and if anyone is listening to this who's like a metaverse enthusiast, I don't mean to offend you, but no, I have never heard anyone talk about any of it in terms other than like total mockery.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems so bad to me and isolating and boring, and I don't know if that's just I'm functioning from a position of privilege and not being slowly drawn into the dark future that we're all facing. But I don't know, man. Like I think about all these things as a kind of like, are you just like not part of this larger conversation, or are there these businesses that are just completely divorced from reality and are trading money and ideas amongst themselves and then trying to kind of string people along until they can gather enough resources where they can go off to some kind of island or escape from creditors or whatever?
Yeah, my suspicion is that it's the latter. And look, Major Label Debut, for better or for worse, is not an economics podcast. Neither of us are economy first journalists, but it does seem to me like this is just another instance of sort of like the money has to move around. It has to keep circulating around Silicon Valley. And, I'm sure if you can do a good pitch deck on why Napster is the future rather than the past, you can keep stringing your investors along for another 8 months or so until the next thing comes. But what I really wonder is there anyone at, Infinite Reality, a single person who genuinely is sitting there excited about what they're going to do with Napster? Are there real ideas? Is there a real plan, even like that they're humoring? Or is it just complete happening like in the algorithm on a spreadsheet on the computer between money crunchers? Of course, we will never know.
Well, I know, according to this Axios article that I read, it says that they raised $3 billion at a $12.25 billion valuation. And it's like, I guess I just truly do not understand how money works. And I truly do not understand what any of that stuff could be in real terms. Like, what is that? What is $12 billion worth? And I mean, are these companies making money? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. It kind of makes me feel like I'm missing out on something, or maybe I'm just not. And this is totally fake.
I feel pretty confident that it's totally fake, although, maybe if we had a youth correspondent on here, they would be able to explain to us why it's actually real and why all this stuff is, one innovation away from replacing human interaction. All I see in my mind's eye when I think of any kind of metaverse concert is that like early AI animation of like Homer Simpson on stage, and people would put different songs in it. It would sound like Homer singing Mr. Brightside or something. And there's all these other like Big Bird or whatever is there, and these awful 3D models are just dancing vacantly. That's what I imagine going to each concert is seeing Homer Simpson sing whatever the song you paid to see is. Enter Sandman.
I think that's exactly what it is. Still, I just picture it like being like Minecraft, where it's just blocky characters moving around in a space, like running into each other or kind of dissolving. I do wonder though, if there is some kind of, new paradigm for this kind of stuff emerging. And I don't know, maybe we can find some kind of way of consuming music online and that is more equitable and helps bands. And I'd like to think that the people at Infinite Reality are decent humans who want to help artists make money. I just have yet to actually see that occur with any tech startup ever.
I refer you back to your quote from the article about it, from Axios' article. A VC-backed metaverse unicorn does not suggest to me good people who are hoping to help artists. Just a guess.
Also, just the word unicorn implies that it is not real. It's like a fantasy. Like,
wow, maybe we are tech journalists. That's a very salient point. Unicorn is what they use. That's the word they use to say, oh, this is the best companies in Silicon Valley, and they're all fake. But if you drink their blood, you can live forever.
That's right. That's like that movie that's about to come out. You shave the unicorn's horn and it will cure cancer.
Well, we're all looking forward to taking our Napster pills to inoculate us against all disease and human unhappiness and suffering.
Just snorting a line of unicorn powder in like a rest stop bathroom off the like baby changing table.
Off the information superhighway. Off to Never Never Land.
Mm-hmm. Off to Never Never Land, indeed.
Any final thoughts about the past, present, or future of Napster and the metaverse?
I'm just thankful to Napster for bringing us your sweet, sweet Chris Martin, and that it gave us Coldplay, and it gave you Coldplay, Graham, is what.
I'm grateful to them for that as well. And my pitch for the new Napster, if anyone from Infinite Reality is listening, is just make it exactly like the old Napster, but it's legal, so everyone pays their $10 a month. But you have to search every song individually, and there's like 2 real versions of it and 10 increasingly fake versions with like a mendacious list of bizarre collaborators, where it's Red Hot Chili Peppers featuring Radiohead, featuring Korn, featuring Incubus, covering Rockin' in the Free World, and then you download it and it's just some like high school band's shitty demo. That's what Napster should be. I think then the people will really embrace it. So
yeah, like Spotify, but more difficult to use.
Yeah, we need to introduce some friction and some surprises back into the metaverse. One man's opinion. All right. Well, that's your MLD news. As always, I'm Graham Wright. Major Label Debut is produced by my guest, John Paul Bullock. Thank you so much, John Paul.
Thank you for having me, Graham.
It's always a pleasure. The show is further produced by Josh Hook, who I just made work with my stumble bum ways. Our wonderful theme music is by Greg Alsop. We're available to interact with and follow on all the various social media apps, although nowhere in the metaverse yet, but I'm sure we're working on it. And if you have any hot news tips, please send them to a real journalist. I am not equipped to receive them. Thank you so much for listening, and Major Label Debut will return, as always, with more breaking news from the intersection of art and commerce.
Bye-bye.
Bye.